Yo, we finally got the Hollow Knight Silksong release window for 2025. How long did we wait just to get this 6 seconds of footage? It looks so good and I am so hyped. And what we're going to be doing today is breaking down every last little detail that we can find in these 3 short clips. Well, actually, there's a 4th one. If you didn't catch it in the middle of the Nintendo Switch Direct, there's actually one at the very end, like a little recap. And we're going to look at that too. So we're going to be taking a look at the recap video thing at the very end as well, where there's a boss fight in the Citadel. I'm so excited. So let's go ahead and jump right in and start with this very first area where we see Hornet in the Moss Grotto. And there's a couple of things that I want to show you because this is the same area that we saw in the original demo that was playable, but only for a very few select people who made it out to E3 back in 2019. So only, I have no idea how many people, but definitely not me. I never got to play. Mossbag was lucky enough to be able to play, and on his video he said what the game was like. And yeah, as you can see, we're in Moss Grotto. We're able to mantle, we're jumping, but what I want to take a look at is right here. This area is like frame for frame what we can see in some demo footage. So a shout out to Hornet because they had the best demo footage that I could find. It just so happened to be lined up exactly with what we're looking at. So I'm gonna blow this up and put it up to 0.25 as well. And I want you to see, like what is it that you notice? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And I'm actually going to bring this back a little bit to where Hornet's at the same spot. Okay, so now we can do a little frame by frame, like side by side. Here's the old demo, as you can see, versus here is the new trailer that we just got, 2025. Do you see some little differences? The first thing that caught my eye, other than the color just being a little bit more dark and drab, you'll see that it's a lot more leafy. You got way more of these leaves, not only on the left side, on the right side, and also these little hanging down green pieces. All of these ones up here pretty much go away. So here we go, the new 2025. Look, less leaves here. Kind of cut it back over here. It got a trim, but then if you notice also in the background, they pushed some things to the background. So probably these little hanging guys here went to the background. So there's more things in the background, a little less in the foreground, and it got that pop of color. In the old version, there's also a lot more water falling from the sky or the cave or wherever it is that we are. The water is still there. It's just less prominent. And then also you got these new spikes that are coming into the background as well, which is kind of interesting. I think that these might even be spikes from like bones or something. I think that it's probably going to guide you into the bone forest or whatever the next area is a little bit more, if I had to guess. So let's bring this forward just a little bit until we get to the next jump. So right about here before we change over. So here we have the old area and a couple of things. It looks like Hornet's animation changes just slightly. You'll notice that in the next area, there's a lot more detail on these green plants that are over here. The background is kind of a little bit more drab. And then also up here, there's a very clear, hey, there's another path up to the top left. Versus 2025, Hornet's doing pretty much the exact same jump. She's in the exact same spot. As you can see, there might be another path up here to the top left. Might be a little secret path that maybe it's a breakable wall now instead of it being just a clear, easy way to go. And as you can see, there's so much more detail added to each of these little grass pillars. So they went through. It's been a while since 2019. They added a lot of details, and also to the background, you can just see so much more of it. Also, these little hanging down things. They weren't even there before, and now they are. I'm just excited they've been polishing this game. It's been a long time, and it's good to see all of the little details. All right, looking at the demo gameplay, when Hornet does damage, she gets one little, I'm going to call it a notch of spool. And then it's not until she completely fills up her spool that this piece over here glows. And so that's something that I want us to pay attention to for later. All right, moving over to our second clip. This area is cool because we've never seen anything like it before. There are slopes. We've never had slopes in a Hollow Knight. The only time we've ever seen slopes is kind of on the roof and areas to like block you, kind of, sort of, but never on the ground. And one thing that I want to show you about the slopes that I thought was cool is if you notice when Hornet's going down the slope, not only is she kicking up a bunch of dust, she's going very, very fast. She's not in control. If you look at her legs, she's not running, she's sliding. She's not moving. You're probably not able to run your happy little tushy back up this thing. Let her go. So she makes her jump here, comes up and over, makes it look so graceful. And one thing that I saw online is somebody suggested that this area here is actually potentially related to the coral forest area, which is like that blue area. This right here, the coral forest area. But I think that we're looking at here is not coral. And why that is because if we come forward just a couple of frames, when Hornet hits this big white puff ball right here, it looks puffy. Poof. I don't know if you saw it on that last frame right there. It disintegrates into a puff of smoke. She's not taking damage. And so what that means is that it's not coral, because coral is very tough and jagged and rough and whatever else. So I don't think that this is something that's coral. I think this is something very floofy, something very soft and cuddly, something you might want to be around if it wasn't toxic. I think that this might be some sort of fungus. I could be completely wrong on that, but I don't think it's like something like a flower. I'm very interested to see what it ends up being, but it's not coral. There's no way. Not in my mind. But that said, let's look at a little bit more. What else can we see? What else can we pick up from this area? One, other than it being white, it's got a bunch of stuff floating down. I would imagine the stuff floating down is the stuff that is growing here. It looks like this thing might be something that you could nail strike or interact with. Obviously, you got the spikes down below. And then in the background, you do have these pillars. And I could have sworn we've seen pillars in other areas of the trailer, but I couldn't track anything down that looked like this kind of thing. This does look like it was made and not naturally formed, so it is interesting. I wonder if this is gonna be the Silksong version of Deep Nest, of you not necessarily planning to go down here, you get tricked, something happens and you wind up here. And then you've also got, man, whatever this stuff is. I don't know if it's rock or if it's cloth, but it does look interesting. Oh, also one thing I didn't bring up earlier is the UI. I don't know if you noticed this, but when we were clicking back and forth between the old version of stuff, and then when we click back over to the new, the UI is smaller and it's tucked away more over at the top left. So it's a little bit more out of the way, which I like. Here we have a couple more masks. This thing right here, we've always called it a crest, because we know there is a crest system. And whenever these change, it's been very clear in the past that it will change Hornet's attacking moveset. You can see right here, there's a little notch in the spool. And so as Hornet gets more silk that she can hold, usually this notch here, from what I can tell, corresponds with when you have one full spool, which can be spent, which we should be able to see more of that in a little bit. We've got two different tools here. This tool, I don't believe that we've ever seen. It looks like some sort of grappling hook. And if you'll notice the one on the left, how it's got the red, my understanding of this is it's as it gets used, the red bar is depleted. This one in the middle, we're going to notice on just a little bit, when you are able to use your ability, when you've got a white spool here, you've got enough silk, the middle thing turns white, and then you're able to use that as almost like an extra ability, but only if it's equipped. That's how I'm thinking that that's going to work, but we'll look at that in just a second. I really do love the way that these little plants look. There's not too much in here to go off of or compare to what we've had before. So next up, we have something that looks like the Citadel area. And you know what, we were just talking about the UI, so let's go ahead and continue with that. So as you can see, we have enough silk to make us up to 1 whole notch. And from there, our crest is glowing because we have 1 whole notch of silk. For these tools, it looks like we've got the 3-pin attack. And then over on the right, we've got a 3-nail trap. And so there's a notch on the bottom and then a notch on the top. I think the notch is going to correspond for whatever button you have to press to be able to get that tool in use. In this image, it starts off where we've got new enemies that we've never seen before. Their faces are definitely covered up. They've got the same symbol that we've seen all over the place on all of the enemies. And yeah, we got nails on the ground. So Hornet is going to make short work of these enemies, and bam! Gossamer attack, and uses only 4 notches of her silk, which is interesting, because if it only takes up 4 notches of silk, she's got more than 4 notches of silk left. I think that she has enough silk to do this attack again, even though her silk meter isn't all the way full. Kind of different from what we see over here, where it's all the way full all the way around, similar to this. So I don't think that this is a tool. I think that this is going to be more like silk related ability. That's my guess because of it being a full circle. Before Hornet does her attack, let's take a look at this room. And the first thing that I notice is you got this big giant chandelier. And this is kind of interesting because at each of the different towns, we've got something that's similar. Maybe not a chandelier, but here's the Nintendo Switch Direct from 2019. And you do have lights that are going on in this town. And then in this area here, you've also got, it might be Lumaflies in this little orb. So wherever you've got these sentient beings, you've got something that looks like Lumaflies. You've got light. So I thought that that was really, really interesting because this thing is absolutely massive. Number 2, the thing that we noticed that I found out like right in the stream is it looks like this whole area is set up like some sort of auditorium. So I don't know if it's set up for a speaker and that this is a podium is what I heard from Stizzl. He did a very great breakdown. Maybe I'll leave a link down to his thing in the description. We're checking out. This looks like it might be maybe a weapon of sorts. It's kind of hard to tell, but it's definitely set up in like a tiered system, but all of the enemies in the background look like they are dead. And even here, this area looks quite old and that there is silk that is starting to build up on everything. Even in the background, you can see that silk is coming down from the top. And silk is just kind of starting to get everything a little bit dirty. So I thought that that was really, really interesting. But remember this room because we are going to come back to it in one of the pictures that we got after the Nintendo Direct. At the very end of the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, we got this final boss clip, and it goes by very, very fast. But it is cool to see. So if we slow it down, it looks like we've got a centipede looking boss. He's got the very same symbol on his face as all of the other enemies. And if you take a look, the enemy that's on the ground here and the door, it looks like the exact same enemy that's on the ground here and door. Look, we've even got this pedestal thing here. The thing that's a little bit different is that the pedestal looks like it's everything's zoomed out. And the light's also a little bit different, but we've got the same silk, we've got the same things at the top. It's the exact same room. All right, we're in the same place. So we probably in the earlier clip defeated a couple of enemies and then out sprang this boss to surprise us, but they won't surprise us in the game because we just got spoiled. So it is kind of cool just seeing a new. This probably isn't a boss, right? This is probably just a bigger enemy that we see. But it is cool. So we see he's got some sort of slam. We see we've got the 3-pin ability. What else do we have up in this UI? Oh, it's the same thing. It's literally the exact same setup. Okay, there we go. We can see Hornet's got her dash. Enemy comes in for a slam. After that, Hornet's got another dash. Enemy backs into the needles on the ground. Comes in, gets a charge slam attack. Hornet gets out of the way, and there you go. And away we go. This one doesn't give us too much more information than what we were able to learn from the other one, other than we got the new boss. We're still getting that same symbol on their foreheads. They're faces are all covered, but it does look pretty cool. Moving on, I want to talk about the 4 different images that were released after the Nintendo Switch Direct. And again, there are some things in these images of places that we've already seen. For example, this boss here, we can do a direct comparison before and after of how it looks different. And then there's also another spot in the Moss Grotto, and there's also something new that we've never seen before. So let's go ahead and jump into the pictures. We got so much stuff, and I'm so excited for Hollow Knight Silksong. Let's go. Tell me if you're excited too. So, as you can see, we got this boss here, right? And for reference, let's look, what did he used to look like? Well, in the 2019 announcement trailer, when he first appears, you'll notice that he actually has a bunch of silk controlling him. So I think that there's some sort of puppet master controlling the boss, which I think is really cool. But you'll also notice that it's very hazy and there's just a lot of stuff going on. Look at all these little fire embers that are flying all over the screen. It's very busy. All of this lava in the background, lots and lots of movement, lots of pixels and particle effects and so on. Let's go ahead and move it to where it's roughly the same spot as where he's at now. As you can see, he already had this I don't know, rust or some sort of damage, probably from the living in lava. I imagine that's not too good for your health, but you can see he does a slam here. Boom! And now we can do a 1-for-1 comparison to the new image, and look at how much cleaner this is. Like, oh my gosh, we can see. Are there still particle effects? Yes, we've got some particles and little things floating around, but it is way, way different, and it looks so much better. So let's go ahead and start at the top left. We'll start the UI, and we'll make our way around. So in the original image, Hornet only had 5 masks, and she didn't have any sort of extra silk, and she didn't have a special crest. So that's the first thing. In the new version, Hornet's got a 6 mask. She does have a crest, or the crest that she has, maybe it's a little bit upgraded because the nail part of it looks very, very similar. And she does have a little bit of extra silk. Not only that, she's also got 2 tools already at this point, whereas before, maybe it either didn't show the tools yet, or she just didn't have any at that point. So now we've got something that looks like some sort of boomerang. And we've got something that it looks like something we've probably seen before when Hornet like launches herself almost like a grappling hook in the air. Very, very cool attack. Again, this one, the second tool, which I don't think it's actually a tool. I think that that's one of those abilities that's going to turn white once she has enough silk. I'm just so excited for all of this stuff to like really get into the nitty-gritty detail and figure out how everything is actually going to happen. You can also see, let's see, if we're just like moving down from the UI, just everything just looks so much clearer and sharper with all of the rocks and stuff in the background. Old version, it was just so hazy, you barely could see anything. They actually added a little bit of greenery in the new version, and man, yeah, these rocks, you can't even see anything. You can't see the red on the rocks below before. It was just too much going on. I'm really glad they cleaned it out. Let's see, you've got all these spikes over here on the right. Yep, you can see all that in the new version, but man, it just looks so much better. Night and day difference. I'm really glad they cleaned this area. I didn't realize how much work the old version needed until I saw this. I'm like, oh, they put some time and effort into it. With the old version, you can't even really tell what the heck is going on this back right area. It's just too muddy and everything just blends in together too much. It was just not the best. And you know what? That's okay. I'm glad that they took their time and they really cooked and made it look so much better. Even when the boss slams on the ground, like look at all these rocks, all these things that are flying into the air. In the new version, okay, it looks like we do have some rocks. Maybe they just haven't flown into the air yet, but it's just so much more clean. You can really see everything on the right side and even into the background. I am so happy with how this turned out. All right, next up, let's go ahead and take a look at the Moss Grotto. And obviously this is going to be an early game area because this is what we've seen in the first trailer where Hornet winds up when she first wakes up, right? When you first get access to the character Hornet, like you're in Moss Grotto, right? And so this area is probably very likely connected to the Boneyard or Bone Bottom or whatever the names of the places are, the bony area. It's probably fairly close by. But what's cool about this exact shot is that there is something from the older area that we got to see about this too. The old version of this Moss Grotto area was just so much more busy, and it's so much more muddy. Like the colors are just drab and dark and just don't look as good. So that's one thing. You'll notice that with the colors. The new one, with all of the new images, they're all just so much brighter and look so much better. Like this just looks good. Number two is it's like a lot of these areas, they got kind of pruned up a little bit. You'll notice that in the new area, there are less of these leaves. We compare it to the old area, the old version. We still have these bones that almost look like spines or something from the bones of our enemies. I don't know, whatever those bones are, they're still there. That's all there. It's just a lot less drab and dreary. The new version, we still have the same plants here. We do have a little bit more detail. What you do have that's a little bit different is over here on the bottom right, you do have less lily pads. I don't know why. There's just too many lily pads, and so that got changed. So rain effects in the background, we've got less of the rain effects. We got a little bit less of the little buggies that are around. So instead of being, what is it, like a couple of them here and there, and the water that's coming down, it's just so much cleaner and crisper, and you can tell they probably had to take their time to do this level of detail and love for the entire game to get it just the way that they wanted. And I am so happy to see all of the little details. Let me know if there's anything that you're looking in this and you're like, Relyea, you totally missed that. What are you doing here? But I mean, there's not too terribly much more new here. It just looks so much better. Next up, we got a whole new, brand new picture. And this is definitely in the same coral reef area that we were at before. As you can see here, Hornet's in the coral reef. You've even got some of these little fishies floating around. Slightly different fishies, also less of them. Here, yeah, I mean, you also do have the fishies in the background. Different than the fishies here. Very likely just a different part of the coral reef. Man, but that does look really similar, especially this right here, these little plants. I just really like that Hornet is doing something to be able to zip line her way up. At first, I thought that this reminded me of an area where she was using some sort of updraft to go up. You can see that Hornet is using an updraft to go up, but you'll notice a couple of key differences here. One, she has her nail out. Two, she doesn't have that same tool. In fact, in all of the old trailers, we never did see 3 tools out at a given time. Here's a tool with the up doot, a tool with the down doot, but we don't have that white middle image thing that we have over here. So here's the new coral reef image, and there's that white. I'm calling it an ability. In this case, as I said, Hornet does not have her nail, and her dress doesn't seem to be catching air from below. So in this case, I believe that she is using her ability to get some silk and is riding it up. And I also think that she is using her silk. So see how it's glowing on the UI over the top left? She is using her silk to be able to get up. And it's costing a decent amount of silk to be able to do it, whatever it is, whatever's going on. So I thought that was really, really cool. It's going to be kind of annoying if you need to have silk to be able to do this zipline ability up, but I really do like the zipline idea. And the reason being, what was it? Haiku the Robot was a very late game ability that you got to be able to use a zipline, and I thought that was so cool, and it was so much fun. So really, really cool seeing something like that here. So taking a look at just the UI briefly, she's got a lot of masks, so this must be probably at least a little bit later in the game. She also does have a little bit more of her silk bar. The new tools, we have seen the one on the far right, that little familiar flying around. We have not seen the ability, which I would guess it's her doing her ability up, but I could be wrong on that. And last but not least, I don't know that we've seen that tool on the left. I stand corrected. We did see this tool. I just don't know that we ever saw it in use. This was during the Xbox Game Pass reveal trailer. So yeah, there you go. And I do love seeing the coral reef. I love all the blues. I love these areas with so much like pops of color. And I just love that even Hornet herself, like just all of the colors are less muddy and her dress looks brighter. Just, this is what I want. This is what I want. I'm so happy we're getting it this year in 2025, the year of our Lord. Let's go. Last but not least, we got this image of the Citadel. You'll notice first thing over on the top left UI, we've got a brand new crest. And so this is something that we haven't seen before, but it does look like it comes from an area that we've seen before. Specifically this area here that we saw on the Xbox Game Pass reveal trailer. There are all kinds of cogs in the area. Here's another spot. Look at that. Cogs. We're getting them. We're going to get some sort of cog ability, and I am all for it. One thing that I wanted to share in the Nintendo announcement that I thought was really, really cool, and it's in this next clip when we get kind of to that cog area, is that you'll notice that in the background, not only are there cogs moving around, but this big black drum that's spinning around, you'll notice that it's got these little notches in it, and somebody had pointed out at one point that it looks very similar to something like a music box. I don't know if you've ever seen the inside of a music box, but these little notches would then press on some like little piece of metal, and that is what would end up playing music or sound. So it feels like this whole machine, wherever Hornet is in right now, is to play some sort of song, perhaps? Silksong? I'm so excited for this game. I want it so bad. I can't wait for Hollow Knight Silksong. But let's get back to that picture. What are we talking about? I'm digressing. Oh yes, the Citadel. And so yeah, there's a couple of things. One, Hornet's got a tool where there are spikes. A spike ball comes out in the air, and we saw that spike ball right here. She throws it out, it locks in place, and she can even bounce off of it. I'm sure she could have enemies run into it as well. Very cool, along with some other tools that we've seen here. And let's see, we've seen the familiar, we've seen the triple pins, we've seen a couple of these things in here, which is really, really fun. All right, so yeah, all of that from the new crest. Over on the left hand side, we've got something that looks like, I don't want to call it a seal. It doesn't look like a seal. It almost looks like kind of like an egg or some sort of husk or something like that. I mean, it wouldn't put it past them to put like some sort, like these are some sort of like a body or shell of sorts. I'm not entirely sure. This looks like very ornate, but also looks like a weapon that we've seen in the past over here on the left side of the railing. And then you'll notice that the bodies over here on the bottom left, they look like they're the background decorations. They've been there for a little while. They've seen some things, and they're covered in silk. And this isn't the first time, even within these the little video trailers and whatever else, like we've seen enemies just kind of littered in silk, or even the background. So even behind, like next to these husks and whatever else, like that looks like it's covered in silk. Below that, in the very bottom left, these almost look like bottles, or I can't tell if they're bells or bottles, but something like that. They're hard to tell one way or another. The enemies that we see in here are enemies that we've seen before. The background looks really cool. It looks like it's very big and expansive, which is kind of cool for a 2D game. And then other than that, there's this just some sort of bell just hanging out on the top right. I don't know if that'll be used as a lever. I don't know if Hornet will just use it as something to bounce off of, whether she pogos that or will attach to it, swing to it in some way, shape, or form. Who knows? But it's definitely there for a reason. You know, you're not just leaving stuff like that just laying around for nothing. Or maybe that is the tip of a weapon for an enemy. I don't know. Probably not. That doesn't look like the same ball from the boss that we saw earlier. But it is sticking out like a sore thumb. There's something going on there. Anyway, there we go. Hollow Knight Silksong. We got some news, finally. People thought that I was putting out clickbait videos, but I hadn't talked about Hollow Knight Silksong for a super long time. In fact, if you want to see some more Hollow Knight Silksong videos of how I break down all of the different crests and how that relates to the different attacks, go ahead and click this video right here. I talked about it in this video over here when we were breaking down the old trailer from Xbox. I thought it was cool looking at how the different, what do you call it, crests changed Hornet's abilities, but maybe that's just me. I broke it down for you. I hope you enjoy it. Anyways, thank you to my members for supporting the channel. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. My name is Relyea, and I hope to catch you again more real soon as we get Hollow Knight Silksong soon this year. Let's go!